The NHL is back, and so are the expert hockey handicappers at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Right now, you can lock in as many handicappers as you want through the Stanley Cup, giving you 25 weeks of hockey for $3.99 using coupon code PuckTime100 when purchasing an NHL season pass. Lock in your favorite handicapper through the Stanley Cup in July.
It is Monday. It is 11 a.m. Eastern. It is time for Puck Time and time to talk some hockey betting. I'm Andrew McInnis, joined by Carmine, Bianco, and our guest today, Mr. Dave Cokin. We have 5 games we are rolling over today. Those games include Montreal, Edmonton, Boston, and the New York Islanders, Flyers and Buffalo Sabres, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Arizona Coyotes, and the Minnesota Wild, and the Anaheim Ducks, all talking about those games from different standpoints, whether it's a total or side perspective. Carmine, I'll bring you in, man. How's your weekend going? Or how was your weekend?
Well, the weekend feels like it's still going because there's a lot of early games today in NHL and across a lot of the sports. But it was one of those up and down weekends, but a good one overall. I think, although I didn't like the way yesterday finished off, but big win with the Buffalo Bills as a 5% play, just to keep going in NFL. And of course, you know, I'm a huge Bills fan, so that kind of helps as well too. But NHL's in full gear. We've got obviously NBA going, and we're into the NFL playoffs. So there's just a ton of stuff going on, and NHL's been fun to watch so far, if nothing else.
So, Carm, did you have any of those folding tables? You were just launching yourself off anything and jumping into tables or anything, or just a casual Bills fan yesterday?
No, man. At 52 years of age, you don't launch yourself into anything anymore. It's tough enough getting out of bed sometimes with my back. But you know, my buddies are like, they're WhatsApping me and they're like, you know, if the Bills make it to the Super Bowl, we're buying tables. I'm like, you guys buy whatever you guys want. I'm watching the game in front of a big screen TV, and that's it. But definitely excited about next weekend's football cards. That's for sure.
Definitely. Well, we'll get into some hockey. Congratulations, though, on your big 5% winner. And Dave, again, we're talking hockey here, but a 12-2 college basketball best bet run, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, and I'll bring up the 12th winner for a moment because this was just a crazy game last night. I had Weber State minus the points against Tarleton, and horrible situation for scheduling as far as Tarleton is concerned. Well, it doesn't look like it's going to get there. I mean, Weber's down a bunch at the half, and then Tarleton gasses in the second half. But I caught a couple of huge breaks in the game late. Tarleton State called a late timeout that they didn't have. Technical foul, 2 free throws, and some guy on Tarleton missed a windmill dunk. So I probably should have lost the game. And the reason I mention that is the night before. This is how things go in sports betting. The night before, I had it wasn't the best bet, but I had a 3% play on the LA Kings. And how bad was that beat?
Oh,
They lose the lead. They lose the lead with 1 second to go in regulation and lose in overtime. So that's the nature of the beast. You have a horrible beat one night, you get just drop dead lucky the next night. You got to ride with the ebbs and flows in this game. Hopefully more ebbs than flows, or flows than ebbs. I'm not sure which. Anyway, my first best bet of the NHL season is on today's schedule. I've only played 3 games so far. None were best bets, but I did step up to a 4% play today, and it's $9 Monday at WagerTalk, so it's just $9.
Definitely. No matter what the sport is, no matter what the rating of the play is, it is $9 right now at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. Guys, let's get into our first game here. Our pick'em play of the day, the Canadiens and the Oilers. Man, it feels good that I'm about to say this, but the Canadiens take game 1 of this 2-game set 5-1. They looked good. Carey Price looked good. The entire team looked good. Carmine, I'm going to ask you here, how have you fared with these back-to-back sets so far, and how has your handicap been? Obviously, a great performance in Game 1 for the Habs. Do they repeat that great performance, though?
Well, obviously, Montreal definitely got the better of Edmonton in that first game. Listen, Price did what Price is supposed to do when he's in net. You give him a good lead, a couple goals, and he's going to hold on to it for you. That's what good goalies are supposed to do, and he's definitely one of the top goalies in this league. This scenario looks familiar to what we saw in Edmonton's first 2 games. They looked completely flat in that first game against Vancouver, and then a role reversal 2 days later in beating them. I think it was like 6-3, reversing that result. The thing with Edmonton, their biggest Achilles heel right now, as far as I'm concerned, is their goaltending. They don't have a goaltending, in the ones that they have. It's early in the season. It's one of those things where they don't have a goalie who I think will steal them games when the team is flat. Price can do that for Montreal. There's a lot of Gibson almost did that the other night against the Vegas Golden Knights. That game, 2-1 in overtime. Good goalies can steal your game when you play flat. The Oilers don't have that right now. So it's something you're going to have to monitor throughout the season. It's a shortened season. I don't think there's a goalie out there that's available this early in the season. No one's looking to move players that the Oilers can pick up. So we'll have to see. I tend to think that they're going to bounce back tonight. Again, using that same scenario. If you look at teams so far, I think there's been 14 situations where teams are playing 2-game sets against another team, and the team that lost the first game has come back and won 8 of the 14 games, so 8-6. It's a very small sample size, but it has to start somewhere, because this is something we're going to see throughout the season, a lot of 2-game sets, and if we start to see a pattern, it's something that you're going to have to look at. Very good teams that lose the first game to come back and win the second game. So with that said, I'm leaning to Edmonton here.
Dave, I know you've been on shows with me. I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan. And one thing I love about that first meeting between these two teams, that the goal scorers, we had Jake Evans score a goal. He's on the 4th line. We have Petrie score 2 goals. He's a defender. I think the Canadiens picked up some offensive guys, Dave, but at the same time, it's great to see that depth, right? And now there's more options. Is it the same story this year with the Oilers? I mean, with McDavid and Draisaitl, I thought they had more depth, but I don't know if they do.
No, I don't think. I mean, Edmonton's okay. I don't think they're a bad hockey team, but when I look at that division, I sure don't put them on top. I think Montreal and Toronto are going to emerge as the 2 teams to beat in that division. And Carmine just mentioned, are we going to see a pattern develop as far as the back end of these double headers, if you want to call them that, are concerned? I don't think we're going to see a pattern. I think you'll see a lot of splits, but I think you're going to, if there's a pattern that's going to develop, it's going to be in how the first game played out rather than just who won and who lost. And in watching the Montreal-Edmonton game, I mean, I did see most of the game, and the Canadiens were just a lot better hockey team in the game. Look, this is a different Montreal team than they were a year ago. I know I mentioned this time after time last year, and it was, and I don't know how right I was, but I think it was somewhat correct that the Canadiens were really skilled, but were lacking size. And I thought that was going to be something that got them in trouble eventually. Well, they kind of fixed that in the offseason. And one of the guys they bring in, it's not just a size thing, because he's a heck of a player, but Anderson, this guy's a horse. Okay? He's the type of player Montreal needed.
I love to hear it.
Well, he's the type of player Montreal. I thought it was a perfect acquisition for them. Guy who's got offensive skills, but he's also a big dude. And you're not going to push him around on either end of the ice. He's kind of a Mark Stone type to me, who I think is a really huge component for the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights have a few guys like that, big dudes who can do things. They might not be the fanciest guys out there, but they're really effective. And I think the Canadiens are a lot better team than they were a year ago. I'm going to be reluctant, unless I'm seeing something really good, to play against them. I think Montreal's got a good chance to sweep here. Not going to make my card. I only played 1 game so far, and that's the best bet. But I would lean Canadiens here.
Goaltending's the biggest thing. I think goaltending is where the edge is for the Canadiens if they continue to score. and they will beat this Oilers team. I'm on the Canadiens as well for the pick-em play of the day. Time now for our next game of the night. We got the marquee matchup, the New York Islanders and the Boston Bruins. I'm going to go ahead first here, guys, to give my quick thoughts on this one. I think this Bruins team is going to go downwards this year. We saw some moves during the offseason that forced them to lose some key guys. Obviously, Chara no longer with that team. Krug no longer with that team. Pasternak is out for right now. We have a lot of changes for this team right now. We just saw them struggle in back-to-back games against the New Jersey Devils. Those games were closer than they probably should have been. I actually had a long shot underdog on the Devils in the first game, went to a shootout, almost got there. New York Islanders, though, coming off a game where they got dominated by the Rangers. They lose that one 4-0 or 5-0. But the game previous to that, they won 4-0. I think the difference to this one is the Islanders can score, but they have a far better defensive core. They have far more depth, and I trust their D-core right now. I think that Boston Bruins D-core looks a little bit lost out there without those key players that were there last year. I think this is a game that's completely mispriced. We've seen some movement on this game. I don't believe that the Boston Bruins deserve to be this heavy of favorites. I think the Islanders are the better hockey team and will be the better hockey team this year. Dave, I'll throw it to you for this game.
Yeah, this is a tough one because I don't know who's going to be in goal for the Islanders. Varlamov apparently has some kind of a jaw issue after getting hit last night or last game. He got caught pretty high with a shot. And look, Sorokin is very highly touted, but the first game wasn't real good. And sometimes it takes a while for young goaltenders to battle through the pressure. I think if the Isles have Varley in goal, they've got a good chance here. But I would like the Bruins if it's Sorokin. And I've got a feeling it's going to be Sorokin in this contest. So I'm going to have to lean Boston in this game. Not prepared to lay that price, but I think the Bruins win.
Carmine?
You know, the great thing about this show, Andrew, is that you and I can disagree, and we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one. The Bruins are consistent each and every year, whether they lose players or not, because I think, my opinion, they have good management that keeps that team together. There's so many teams out there with bad management, which is why teams like the Red Wings are at the bottom of the standings. It's the talent that they bring in, and this team still has talent. Dave mentioned Varlamov. Yeah, he got injured actually in the pregame warmups and stuff. He took a shot under the chin, under his mask. So there's a very good chance that he doesn't play tonight. There was nothing confirmed at the time of the show, and I think it's literally going to be Ilya Sorokin. Right? And as Dave said, he did not look good in that first game. It might take him a little while to adjust to this one. This is one of those things where I actually expect the Islanders to regress a bit this year. I'm not too huge on them as I was last season. I'm not going to say that they're not making the playoffs, but I still think the Bruins are the best team, along with the Flyers in that division. The Bruins have held over the Islanders over the last few years. 9 of the last 10 have been won by the Bruins. The one that they lost did go to overtime. You go a little farther back, 15 of the last 20. And I understand, we're going back, and this season is unlike other ones, but it's still, this is a Bruins team that played extremely well. And in spite of the fact that they didn't play the way you thought on the weekend, they still picked up points. So for me, it's the Bruins. I don't want to lay a big price like Dave said. I wouldn't want to lay 145, 150. You can pretty much watch this. If you see it drop to under 140 to 130, 135, I would take it then.
Yeah, Car, nobody's ever going to stop you from disagreeing with myself or any guest on the show. We just advise you not to. So you're definitely allowed to, but we just advise you not to do that. Our next game here, the line mover, the Philadelphia Flyers and the Buffalo Sabres go head to head. And you know what I think we'll describe as a competitive game with a lot of skillful players out there. A lot of offense and two teams that can certainly make you jump out of your seat if there were fans in attendance in this one. Look, this is one of those things where I actually expected this number to rocket up. On the early lines, we saw that happen, but now it's settled down a little bit. I want to throw it to you, Carmine, and ask you if this number is justified for the Philadelphia Flyers. I know you're high on them this year.
Yeah, it could be a little bit higher, and it could very well get there a little higher. I spoke on last week's show about the Sabres and their goaltending. I was really surprised that Linus Ullmark did not start that first game against Washington, and we saw Carter Hutton in net and 10 goals in that game, a 6-4 result. With Kruger of Buffalo, their coach saying that he was going to alternate goalies with the Ullmark, and I advised taking the under in the next game, and the very next game, the final score is 2-1 Washington, easily under the 6 goals there. It's Carter versus Carter tonight. It's likely going to be Hutton in net tonight. And listen, until the Sabres show me that they can play well in front of him and that Hutton can play well as a goalie, his core numbers right now, when he loses, they're bad. Under 9 save percentage, which 8.71, a 3.84 goals against average in losing efforts. Those aren't very good numbers. Sometimes we might talk about goalies stealing games for teams or even playing well in defeat. He hasn't played well in defeat, and this goes back to last season where he was pretty much an auto fade. If this game was being played in Buffalo, I would say, okay, the line looks about right, and Philly being about -150, and maybe the Sabres have a chance. And that's only based on the fact that the other Carter Hart, his splits home and away are completely different. Away from home, he's 9-14-1, 3.31 goals against average, 0.888 save percentage. Look at his numbers at home. Absolutely through the roof. 33, 12-3, 2.24 goals against average, 9.928 save percentage. Those are phenomenal numbers for a goalie at home, and you see the difference between the two. Flyers keep rolling for me, although I don't want to lay $1.60 where I think this line will eventually go back up to.
Carmine,
my show.
You were up late doing your homework last night, man. It sounds like you were up late preparing.
I will say one thing. The total in this game will be on the best bet at the end of the show. So I'll say that before we throw it to Dave.
Yeah, Dave, 2 different goalies. I'll segue you into that.
Hart is confirmed for the Flyers tonight, so I suspect he will probably sit tomorrow. I've assumed that Hart would play one of these 2 games as they're back-to-back with Buffalo, but he's already confirmed for tonight. So I'm not going against the Flyers. I don't want to lay the price if it's Ullmark for Buffalo. In fact, I think Buffalo could be live with Ullmark in goal because, look, I know it's only 3 games in, but you can have flat spots already this soon in the season. And the Flyers are coming off 2 really big games to start the season and now facing a team that's already 0-2. So, it's a spot where I don't really want to lay the price. But I can only consider Buffalo with Ullmark. I'm not playing him with Hutton, who to me is a backup, and I don't know why they're going to be alternating goaltenders when Ullmark is clearly the better guy there, in my opinion. Sabres did not play badly in the 2 games against Washington, particularly in the second game. If they could have gotten anything going on the power play, I think they were 0 for 6 on the power play. They might have won that game. They actually were the better team in that game. And I don't know that Buffalo's all that awful. So call it a lean to the Sabres if Ullmark is in goal and a complete pass if he's not.
Buffalo kind of reminds me of a basketball team that's just filled with all-stars that don't want to play defense. And that's what this Buffalo Sabres reminds me of. And especially if we don't have Ullmark in nets, it's going to be a disaster for them. So I'm right there on Philadelphia. I'll say, guys, before we move on to the next games here, this will be an opportunity most nights, I believe, especially with Hutton in nets, to bet the opposition over on their team total of 3.5. A lot of teams, look at the Blackhawks. Every game they've played in so far, their opposition has hit their team total. Try and avoid laying those big prices and grab a team total, usually at the -110 mark here, guys. All right, time now for the heavy favorite of the day. So far on this show, so far on the young season of Puck Time, the heavy favorites have crushed it, absolutely crushed it. I said I want to find some dogs for us. I want to find some opportunities to look towards the underdog side of things. Dave, the Coyotes, the Golden Knights, is there an underdog spot here to look at?
Not for me. Don't like this Arizona team. I think they're going to be a miss as far as the playoffs are concerned this season. Golden Knights didn't play particularly well in Game 2, found a way to win it anyway. I'm not going against the Golden Knights in this spot.
Carmine.
I very rarely disagree with Dave, but I'm going to take, he mentioned flat spots for teams, and it's early in the season, but this could be a flat spot for the Vegas Golden Knights. Listen, Gibson almost stole that game for Anaheim last time out. You look at tonight's game, and they face of the two goalies, they're going to face the best goalie that Anaheim has. Zona has tonight in Darcy Comfer. He's 3-1-2 against the Golden Knights in their so far. 1.88 goals against average, 0.948 save percentage, both exceptional numbers. And if you're figuring on a flat spot, listen, the Knights aren't going to go 56-0. They're going to lose at some point. May not be tonight, but if there was a chance to do it, it could very well be tonight against a Coyotes team that play well. I think you look at their first couple games and they played pretty well. So you're getting a juicy price, plus 170 on the Coyotes with a good goalie in net tonight, and they could very well steal it. I haven't seen who the Vegas Knights goalie will be tonight. I'm going to guess that it's going to be Robin Lehner. I think he's going to the Boers is doing the exact same thing. He's not going to name his goalie. He's going to wait until closer to game time. And I think they're doing the old back and forth with the goalies initially until someone stands out. So we saw Lehner in the first game. We saw Fleury in the second game. And now I think it's back to Lehner tonight, even though Fleury played a pretty damn good game in game 2 there. So I'm going to go I'm going to spring the dog in an upset here with the Coyotes.
I just want to throw something in. This is the first of 4 straight meetings between these two teams. So there's going to be a flat spot for the Golden Knights in this series, if you will. I just don't know when it'll be. By the way, I was not impressed with Arizona in their games against San Jose, especially the first game. They should have lost that game. But we'll see. We'll see. I think we might be on different wavelengths with the Coyotes. I just don't think they're very good.
Well, this is why they play the games, right? So
yep.
we'll see.
You want to break the tie, Andrew?
Well, like you said, Dave, they're going to play 4 times. This division, I'd say, is one of the more lopsided ones. I think we could all agree on that, right? We could all agree that after St. Louis, after Vegas, after Colorado, where's the talent? And that's kind of the thing, Dave, is that I would say between you, me, and Carmine, our drop-off after those 3 teams could be completely different. Depending on which stage we look at for the bottom tier, the middle tier, and that upper tier. So, we're talking about the heavy favorite of the day. We're talking about, are we willing to put on that money for the minus 200 or even anything else on it? And the answer for me is no. I understand that they did not look good, the Arizona Coyotes, in their first game against the Sharks. Their second game, though, I'm just impressed because we're seeing goal-scoring opportunities, and the advanced stats are showing dangerous scenarios. And I looked through, and it wasn't just their top line. It wasn't just their second line. It was their third and fourth actually dominating possession, winning faceoffs, and carrying the puck. I think this Arizona team is going to be sneaky. They're not going to be anything special along the year, but there will be spots where they'll surprise you. As far as the goaltending goes for the Golden Knights, I like Lehner. I like Fleury. I am not as much of a fan of the rotation, just one game off, one game on for goalies. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's good to have a clear mix-up and changing it, but it's not good to lack routine. It's not good to lack routine. Yeah. So Andrew, I feel like this is the bet on spot here for the Coyotes at a really great underdog spot.
Yeah, Andrew, like I said initially, and we talked about on the previous shows, the first couple of weeks of this NHL season is it's going to mimic a preseason. You look at some of the score lines and they just don't make sense. So we're going to have to evolve with this season the way it goes. You look at a game like look at the Colorado St. Louis. Colorado scores the first goal of the game. St. Louis scores 4 straight, wins 4-1. You go into game 2 and did anyone expect what Colorado did to St. Louis, beating them 8-0 in that game? I think the final score was like 8-0. Some of these games, you look at the 2 New York teams, you go from 4-0 to 5-0 for the other team. There's no rhyme and reason early on. We're just going to have to evaluate these teams as they perform and as they get better, as they get up to game speed, because these guys have had a short training camp. It's especially the teams that made the playoffs last season had a delayed training camp and then no preseason. So we've got, we're learning on the go here. Unfortunately, we're learning on the go. We're gonna have to see how these teams are, and our opinions are going to change. So what we might have said in week 1 of Puck Time might be completely different in week 3 of Puck Time. It just stands to reason.
And Carmine, the odds are the exact same too. You saw that Colorado game from game 1 to game 2. The odds makers are not changing things despite the reaction from the first game. And we saw that with the Islanders and Rangers. We saw it with Colorado and St. Louis. We saw it in so many different meetings, and we'll see that, I'm sure, as we move forward. It's time to talk some totals, guys. We're talking a low total on the board here. The Minnesota Wild and the Anaheim Ducks. 5.5 is the total here. Dave, look, Carmine mentioned the pace that we've seen early on. He mentioned the fact the goal lines, the stats that we've seen, the possession that we've seen, and dangerous scoring opportunities. Are you going over here on this low total, or is it low for a reason?
No, I think Minnesota's offense is being a little underrated. I know that it was third period rallies against the Kings, but this team's going to score some goals. And the Russian kid, I just blanked on his name,
Kaprizov.
Yeah, he's going to transform this team because he's very offensive-minded and maybe not so great on the defensive end. I think you might get some goals in this one, so I lean over.
I look the exact same way, Carm. You look at this Ducks team. Who are they coming off of? Who are they all coming off against? This Vegas Golden Knights team, a little bit tougher to play against. Now you see a Minnesota team, 2 4-3 games, one of them an overtime game. This game could be messy to me, and it's a pretty low total here, Carm.
Yeah, it is a low total, and a lot of my stock, and at least early on, is because we don't have a lot of info, but we do know obviously goalies, and we've seen. I don't think a lot of people are auto over. Just keep taking overs. I don't think you can look at that. Sometimes you have to look at the goalies, and sometimes the better goalies can keep numbers under the total. A little surprised by Minnesota's first couple games. And yeah, maybe they are a team that are going to score some goals. But this is one of those games where Anaheim's now 0-2. If they're going to win, they're going to do it with a tight defensive game where Gibson plays extremely well. You look at the goalies for tonight, and, in talking about goalies, Cam Talbot, is 9-6-2 lifetime against Anaheim. I know a lot of those games were playing for a different team, but a 2.16 goals against average. You look at Gibson 6-3-1 lifetime against Mini, 1.92 goals against average. That's a pretty good number over the course of 10 games, goal percentage wise. At 5.5, if this was 6, it's an auto under, but it's never going to be 6, no matter what. So at 5.5, I'm still willing to take the under with these two teams.
I just wanted to say that I feel like the odds makers, just over time, they kind of have a reputation with certain teams, and it's hard for them to move forward with that reputation. And this Minnesota Wild team, to Dave's point, it now has an offensive-minded prospect with Kaprizov on their top line. They have Kevin Fiala on their second line, very talented, Nick Bonino, Zach Parise. They do have some guys that can score, but my question is, what's going to change that, and how are we going to get to the 6? I think we're going to have to see several overs and several high-scoring games to get there. But I feel like this is a changed Minnesota Wild team, and we will see some pace out of them. The question I really ask is, will that help them in the long run, and will they benefit off these faster-paced, high-scoring games? instead of the lockdown defensive games. We're going to head into show best bets now. So time for Dave. We'll start with you. Take some time. Let us know what you have up at WagerTalk.com for $9 Monday, and give us your show best bet for today.
First NHL best bet of the season goes tonight. And I have a basketball play on one of the big games. It's on Kansas-Baylor. Those are both $9. And you can, of course, sign up for a package if you want as well and get all my plays at one low price. Best bet here in the show, I think it's going to be Sorokin in goal for the Islanders. And if that's the case, I've got no problem backing the Bruins. Not on my card right now. I want to get confirmation and also see where the price goes because it's now up to minus 135. Don't know if I want to. That's a little above my threshold, but the Bruins are certainly going to be a consideration for me, and I will use them as the best bet here on the show.
Carm, it is $9 Monday, man. That's a great day for customers to check you out, grab your plays, and see what you have up to offer.
Yeah, I'm first of all, I'm sitting on my hands because like the Italian that I am, I had about 3 espressos this morning and I'm a little wired and I'm waving my hands on the screen and it's really screwing with the images. So apologies to you guys out there. Yeah, I have 3 different cards up on $9 Monday, 3 NHL plays for tonight. Puck drop us on the first one at 7 p.m. 2 afternoon soccer games that go at 3 p.m. And of course, I have a 5% play this weekend in the NFL, and you can get that for $9 over at WagerTalk. That returns to regular pricing of $40 at midnight. As far as my best bet, I'm going to go to that Flyers and Buffalo game. I talked about the fact that Carter Hart's home splits are much better than his road splits, and you wouldn't want to normally take an over in a game where a goalie plays extremely well at home. But I have to believe that the Sabres give the Flyers a bit of the run for the money tonight. I don't think they're going to beat them, but they're going to have to. They're really going to have to outscore. And this sounds stupid. They're really going to have to outscore the Flyers tonight, not by a 2-1 scoreline, not by a 3-2 scoreline. They're going to have to outscore the Flyers by one of those 6-4, 6-5 scorelines to get a win with Hutton in net. I just am not convinced on this goalie as of yet. Their only way they're going to win tonight is in a shootout. So over 6 as my best bet for this show.
Good stuff there from Carmine at WagerTalk.com. Of course, Dave as well at WagerTalk.com. $9 Monday, guys. Check it out. Great day to grab some deals. Great day to grab some plays in all sports. For myself, my best bet, my free play here on the show is going to be the Columbus Blue Jackets on the puck line, plus 155. That number is bounced around a little bit up and down. But look, we talked about on this show the fact that there's going to be changes with the scheduling. The divisions are going to be different. The flat spots are going to make an impact. And this Red Wings team coming off against 2 games against the Carolina Hurricanes. One game they get shut out 3-0, and the other game they lose 4-2. And look, first of all, that first game, they just struggled to score. And sometimes I look at things and I believe the scoreline might not dictate how dominant that game was. If the Carolina Hurricanes felt like it, I believe they could have pushed that pace a little bit more. They are more comfortable getting a lead and protecting it and just sitting on that number. And I believe that game could have gotten way more out of hand. The Columbus Blue Jackets, on the other hand, they are not satisfied with themselves. There's bad reports coming out of the locker room already that they need a bounce back, and it's early in the season, like Dave said. This is a spot where the Blue Jackets will be ready to go. The Red Wings are not a talented team. They have a few guys that are pretty good and good prospects and good younger players, but that's about it for them. And we're offering this play here, guys, and giving this out. This play starts in about 30 minutes. Puck drop is 30 minutes from now. Best bet on the show, Columbus, plus 155 on the puck line. And for myself, I just have a full NHL side and totals report available at $9 Monday. Several plays for me loaded for today for just $9. Thank you guys so much for watching Puck Time here, whether you're watching after the live show or whether you are watching the live show as we speak right now. On behalf of Dave Cokin, Carmine, Bianco, I'm Andrew McInnis. We'll see you tomorrow right here, 11 a.m. Eastern, for Puck Time.
Have you ever checked out the expert handicappers at sportsmemo.com? If not, we have a deal that is impossible to pass up. Right now, you can get every pick from 12 different handicappers this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for only 99 bucks. This includes all sports, all 5% releases from 12 different handicappers for 3 full days. In the history of WagerTalk, Gold Sheet, and Sports Memo, we've never had a deal this good, and the odds are we never will again. All NBA, all college basketball, all NHL, NFL, and soccer, all sports, all 12 handicappers this weekend only at sportsmemo.com.